Hello and welcome back to Malls on Mission. I'm Philip.
And I'm Anna.
And we're so delighted that you're listening to our voices right now.
Welcome.
All right, we'll start this off with a question. This one is less silly than some previous questions, but it's still a question. Anna, what is your favorite mode of transportation and why?
My favorite mode of transportation.
Your favorite mode of transportation. The one you enjoy the best or have the best memories on or like the convenience, like whatever your reason, what's your favorite mode of transportation? And this could be like walking, biking, horseback, Segway, hoverboards, airplanes, cars, any mode of transportation.
Ooh, okay. It's a good question. My first thought, as you brought that to mind, was more of a memory thing. Was my longboard.
Ooh.
Getting around, riding around on the longboard, getting around campus a little bit on my longboard. It was a good phase of life. I very much enjoyed my longboard.
Okay, and then so you've got some nostalgia for a phase of life attached.
I wouldn't want to use it regularly now.
Yeah, well, you're pregnant.
I don't think that would go very well.
Not great. I would not approve of that.
Okay. Yeah. But yes, I very much enjoyed my longboard phase, and I think I would put that. It's hard to pick a favorite because are we talking convenience? Because
I'm talking favorite.
Well, but like, how am I going to categorize my favorite? Because you've got the convenience factor, you've got the enjoyment factor, you've got the efficiency
you have the novelty factor.
The novelty factor. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things to consider.
Yeah, I mean, you rode the bus once in college, so
one time.
One time.
That's a little bit of it. I rode the campus buses.
Yeah.
That's not the same as a public
transportation
bus.
Yeah.
This is true. I enjoyed our train ride as well.
Yes, that was a good train ride.
So, anyway, that's my answer. What's yours?
So yours is longboard.
Yeah.
Because college life.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine, I think everyone listening would be like, well, yours would be airplane because you fly airplane. But I really, really enjoyed that train ride. And it might just be because, like, we've only been on the one train ride. Thank you, Tyler Odd. But, like, I was spoiled. We went on the Smoky Mountain Railroad. So, like, we had a table.
Train.
They gave us food. We still have our mugs from the Smoky Mountain Railroad. We're riding through the Smokies. You're moving fast, so it feels like this is an effective mode of transportation. But you also don't have to do anything. You're just there, and you have more room to move around than one of those one of those in the sky fart tubes that is a commercial airliner, which you can't move around on. You just got to sit in your seat, and you hope you're not in an aisle row because then the snack cart's going to roll by and obliterate your elbow if you have long arms like me. I didn't have to worry about any of that. It was just we just got to sit there. Enjoy a snack, sit in our seats at our table. Yeah.
The beautiful mountain views.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, another plus of that was it was our honeymoon.
Yes,
so
that did make it magical.
Yes, the novelty of being married added to the magic.
But I'd totally do train again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do train. Now I've not been on like Amtrak train, so that might change my opinion a little bit. But until then, I think my answer is going to be a train.
I like
it. It also just feels old-timey. I like old stuff.
You old soul.
I'm old soul. Yeah. Yep, we're going to go with train.
Very good.
And listener at home, I'm going to try to put in a place in this podcast episode where you could chime in your favorite mode of transportation as well. And then we can read and be delighted by your response. So you go ahead and try to answer unless you're on a podcast player that can't answer okay. But anyways, on to the next section. All right, welcome to the update section of the podcast. That felt too official, too formal. I should have been sillier. Next time, I'll be sillier when we move on to the next section. Anyways, Anna, what have you been up to in the past almost 3 months since we've done one of these when we're together, just talking about what's going on in our lives?
Oh, not a whole lot. Growing a baby, moving our entire life to Ocala, Florida, 2 hours north.
Yep.
Learning, well, enjoying all of the craziness of holidays.
Yep.
Yeah, just a few things.
3 big family get-togethers, several little family get-togethers over holidays, a move, me quitting my job.
Yeah, lots of things.
Yeah,
lots of things in the works.
There's been some change. And why did we move? Why couldn't we have just stayed in Tampa?
Oh, we could have stayed in Tampa, but we've moved to be closer to my family, particularly for the third and what some people call the fourth trimesters of pregnancy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we've moved back to my hometown, back to my childhood house. And
we are living in your old schoolroom.
We are living in my old schoolroom. It looks very different from what it did when I was in grade school. My parents have done a lot of work to the place, and it's beautiful. Very nice. But yeah, that's been in some ways it feels very relaxing.
Yeah.
Just all because the associations that I have from childhood are positive.
Yeah.
And so living on the property that I grew up exploring and coming back to this space has been really nice.
Yeah. Bit of an odd transition because we definitely associate this place right now with we're on holiday.
Right. And this was my parents' guest room.
So it's a little bit like, okay, now we have to retransition into, the rest of our partnership development phase, and we've still got some side jobs and some work that we're doing here and there. Trying to transition back into the regular flows of life and trying to find us some community while we're here. And build some relationships. So it's a weird step because it's like, all right, it kind of feels like we're here to finish the partnership development process when we're at our 100% of our funding and have our baby and then move again. So the motivations to get really plugged in can be hard. And like, do we try to find community? Do we try to invest in some community for the 6 months we're here?
And serving in different church capacities, different ministering capacities. Because, and that is even limited before we move again because from what I understand, having a new baby is pretty all consuming. And so...
Apparently you don't sleep much, I hear. I mean, I think I'm just going to pop some sleeping pills, but...
We'll probably learn to like coffee. But... So that is an interesting thing to navigate because we've got about 3 more months. Well, almost 4.
Yeah, almost 4.
Almost 4 more months until baby's supposed to come.
Yep.
And that means in my head we've got 4 months to really live the way that we have been living in a serving and ministering and community oriented capacity. So that clock feels very short. That time feels very short. And starting over, in a sense, while we know a lot of people here and we have really good connections to a number of churches and opportunities to serve are not few. Finding the what's realistic, what's healthy, what is really what it comes down to is what is it that the Lord is calling us to do now, so that we can maximize our efficiency, our capacity, because we also want to have time with our families and time with each other before things change. So, and then also learning, figuring out a schedule that is not defined by a 9-to-5 job. Yep. That's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's a little weird, especially my job has been very fixed and I'm not trying to invalidate you in your job, but very fixed. Like everyone shows up to the shop at this time, we take lunch at this time, we go home at this time.
Yes.
And 4 to 5 days a week, and it's like I don't have that. Like that's a pretty big structure to have, and then figure out how do we structure our lives now and have that like external discipline to keep productive. And
right, it is very weird to look at the calendar when talking to people like, oh, when can you get together? I am literally free. I have free time literally every single day. Like that's wild because there was always like certain parameters in our schedule. Oh, well, we can't do Monday nights because that's small group, and Tuesday nights sometimes we also do small group. Wednesday nights we have we're going from something every single night to really nothing on the schedule at all, and we haven't had that.
And on paper that sounds like, oh, that's so freeing, but then you get there and you're like we still need to get things done while we're here. But now it's not like, oh, I can only get this done at this time, so that's when I'm going to get it done.
Now, I think some of this might track with, if people remember how initially COVID was before everything had streamlined virtually. How you figure out how to do your job.
How to virtual school your kids.
Yeah, I think this is the most open our schedule's ever been, full stop. But a close second would be when we first got married. At the beginning of 2020, when everything shut down, and there really were no options for after. Well, I say after school, like in the evening, we've got nothing. During the day, even you've got free time. So I think people can relate a little bit. You listeners can look back
on your lives,
on 2020, and remember what that felt like. How do I structure now that I've got a virtual job, which means during any, like, I'm just home, so I can do projects around the house.
I can do anything. But what should I do?
What should I do? I end up sitting on the couch. Not doing anything.
So, that's been a transition for us as we've been in this process. But I think we're getting there. I bought myself a couple planners, and those have been actually very helpful for me to just every morning sit down and be like, all right, what's going on today? What do I need to do today? What are my top priorities for the day?
You are a very good steward of really anything that's given to you. So your time and this free time that's been given to you, you're a very good steward of that. Just being able to organize your schedule and wanting to prioritize. You're really doing something, not allowing it to just kind of happen.
Yeah.
But I
see proactive.
I see it as stewardship. This season is a gift.
Yeah.
This free time I'm never gonna have again.
Never again.
So
once this little guy comes, it's gone.
So hopefully listeners and also you and I can recognize we're not complaining about this in any way, shape, or form. This is a huge blessing, while at the same time just an interesting thing to navigate.
Yeah.
But I've seen you really steward that time and plan for it well. We're pretty fresh into this
new season.
New season. Really today to me feels like the first full this is what life is going to feel like for the next few months because all of the out of town family is officially
back out of town.
And so it feels it feels like the holidays have officially ended.
Yeah.
And there is no more, while realizing too Christmas was 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep, it goes fast.
It does go fast. We did have a really fun holiday.
Oh, yes, we did.
Holiday season. It was all over the place. Back and forth from Tampa to Ocala, and every single family get-together was a blast.
Yep. I made a game that both my immediate family and your extended family got to play this year.
Yes.
I built this language might not accurately describe what it is to all of you. So I'll let Anna try to recap what I'm about to say in a way that hopefully everyone will understand.
Good preface. Okay.
I built a 3-axis claw game. Like you're in the arcade and you play the claw game and you waste all of your coins because it just drops the teddy bear before it gets to the exit spot. I built one of those, but you need 4 people to play it because everyone's pulling on strings to move the claw around like this, probably like 10 by 10.
You made it pretty big.
It might have been like 20 by 20.
It was a large space to cover, and it was
goal
a team game.
To pick up as many chickens, like the rubber chickens, as you can, and drop them in the bag.
Well, the game definitely evolved. The original game was just figure out how to work together as a team, understand because just to give everyone a picture, you've got one string which can pull the claw in really one direction.
Toward
you. But if you're pulling towards you and the person directly, like if you stand in kind of a triangle shape.
Yeah.
So if 2 of you are pulling,
it moves
it'll move in between. So you can really move you can move it to any point within.
Is a triangular shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you really can only control it in one direction by yourself, but working with your team, you can get it to any point within the pulleys. And so the first and primary object of the game was learn how to work as a team to pick up this one toy, grab it, and then carry it back to a spot where you can drop it. So a typical claw game.
Yep.
And you've got 3 people maneuvering it, and then the last person, when you say 4 people, the 4th person would be the trigger.
Yeah. They're closing and opening.
Yes.
The claw.
Now, once you do that one time, the game gets a little bit boring because you've already figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
So, to spice it up a little bit, we happened to have a box full of these rubber chickens from Thanksgiving, a Thanksgiving game, and we scattered them everywhere. And it's like, okay, you've got 5 minutes. How many chickens can you pick up and put in the box? So it was a fun time.
It was fun.
It really was.
I was so happy. So your uncles are not the game type. They
enjoy watching and laughing at those playing the games, typically.
Yeah. But I think now that I'm bringing in like mechanical aspects to the family games, they got into it. The two of them were like, we can do better than any of those times. And then they played it and they're like, we could do better than that time. And like they played it probably 4 times.
Yep. It was really fun. Yeah. And it was great because a bunch of people could play at once.
Yeah.
But it was also not chaotic.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that a lot of these games can become is just chaos and noise, which is a fun in and of itself.
Yeah.
But this particular game was just really great. It was a great bonding moment between teams. So we loved that.
Yep.
And great food. Wonderful weather.
Yep.
It was cool, but not freezing. And really enjoyed all of that. Yeah. So
good time.
It was a good holiday season really all around.
Yep.
From Thanksgiving to Christmas, and actually all the way to New Year's, we were able to celebrate with friends and family. So, it's kind of sad to realize that it's all over until next year.
Until next year. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, well, those are our... one other life update. We are pretty for sure that July we will be going back up to headquarters in North Carolina.
Yep.
For what they call intercultural communications, which is several weeks to almost a month, I think. It's like a 3-week thing.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's long. We don't know any of the details about it because they keep all that really hush-hush.
But it's a training of sorts and prep for going overseas
stuff. Yep.
So, and they've been doing it for a while. It's required for all of the Wycliffe missionaries going overseas. So we'll be doing it with a bunch of other people in July, and we're very excited about it.
Very excited. Our hope would be that we are at the budget point to just move, but we will see. If not, we'll go for the training and then come back for a little bit. But we will keep you guys updated on that front. And now we'll move on to our final section. What's up? Welcome to the What the Lord's Been Saying to Us section. Well, I said the last one was too formal, so I had to do something really informal this time. And I did so by technically quoting a early 2000s beer commercial that debuted at the Super Bowl.
I don't know if anyone's gonna... I didn't get the...
Anyways, Anna, what's the Lord been speaking to you lately?
Oh, wow. Let's see. So one thing that I've been working through with the Lord for a good while now is this perfectionism vein in me. The firstborn type A, get every A kind of.
I made a joke. Yes, we went to like the new birthing center we're gonna be trying here in Ocala.
This was funny.
And they asked Anna like, "What's your blood type?" She's like, "It might be. I think I'm A. I'm pretty sure I'm A positive, but I might be A negative." And I had to crack it. I was like, because we couldn't stand to have an A negative on our record.
Couldn't have an A minus. Had to have the A plus. You're so clever. Yes. So the Lord's really been walking me through releasing a lot of perfectionism, being willing to make mistakes, and see my worth legitimately apart from my performance. And it is a slow process, but I think it's one of those picture stairs, like you're climbing and then it plateaus.
Yeah.
And then you climb the next one and it plateaus, so that a stair step shape. And so I feel like we reached a new elevation. When this past week, thinking about parenting and wanting to do it right.
Yeah.
And thinking about all the different ways to prepare for a baby and all of the many options for healthy pregnancy and all of the advice on the internet. My goodness. But it helped to highlight, and I was getting anxious, and that helped to highlight this mindset I have that there is one right way to live.
Yeah.
And God has one way for me to live, and if I can find it, then I'm walking in God's will.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the A, and I'm doing well. But that margin for error is so tiny. It feels like walking on a nice edge, because there's only one answer.
Like the spiritual journey is akin to playing Dance Dance Revolution.
Something like that. Yeah. Every single step is laid out, and if you miss it, that takes away from your grade. And really, that grade level mentality has been decreasing in weight for a while, but it still feels like, you don't do this one thing right, then you missed it. It's tough, but you can't go back and fix it. You just keep moving, and you didn't do that one very well. So that's the mentality that I think I subconsciously just act in all the time. And I was feeling a lot of pressure imagining parenting, because now the stakes are so much higher than just my life.
Yeah.
We've got an actual human being to raise from knowing nothing to being an
adult on their own in the world.
A kind, gentle, fully operational and contributive individual in society. So, thinking about all that, I was feeling a little overwhelmed. And so I just kind of grabbed my Bible and flipped it open. And I was going to be going to Romans, where I've been reading, and it flipped open to 2 Timothy, and I started to flip away from it, and I just felt a check in my spirit, like, no, I'm supposed to be here. So I started reading 2 Timothy. I'm like, not 1 Timothy? I don't remember. Yeah. It's been so long since I've read these small epistles. Like, should I get context? No, I started reading in chapter 1, and halfway through chapter 1, Paul is talking to Timothy about his ministry, and he said, I can't remember the exact quote, but basically he said, I am confident of this, that he is able to guard until that day, the day of Christ, that which has been entrusted to me. And that stood out because it's like, he is guarding what he has already entrusted to me. And it had a footnote, that phrase, what he has entrusted to me, had a little footnote. And so I, scanned down to the bottom and read that. And the alternate translation of that is what I have entrusted to him. I was like, how
how
seems
can it be
opposite.
Translated both ways?
How could it be both? I think the Greek, like the actual word for word translation, would be my deposit.
Okay.
So it could be what has been deposited in me, or what I've deposited to him. And so I got stuck there.
Almost just like a what has been deposited.
Right. And so I was meditating on that. I really felt like that's where I was supposed to be. So I started meditating on it and realized that it's the Christian life is so cooperative. God's heart is to work with us. Yeah. And that idea of he's given us something to steward, to grow, to be creative with, to trial and error and explore with. Now he's going to guard it so
Yeah.
that it cannot, when we entrust it back to him, he is able and willing
Yeah.
to guard from ruin
Yeah.
that which has been deposited. But there is a lot of mutual corroboration and cooperation, that God doesn't want to just give us something and be like, okay, good luck. Here's everything that you need for life and godliness. Now walk in it.
Yeah.
And it's also not a puppet string, like, okay, you got to give everything, like everything that I'm giving you, it's really still mine. So you have to give it back to me, and I'm going to do everything.
Yeah.
Which obviously you can view it that way, like really everything that we do is because God is enabling us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just that idea of creativity and of cooperation and of trusting God to keep within boundaries, to provide margin for that which he has entrusted to us. And Paul was talking about it as the deposit of the Holy Spirit and of the gospel and of his ministry. But I think specifically ministry, our new ministry is not just serving others, it's going to be parenting this baby.
Yep.
And God has entrusted that to us. And so that's kind of where I've been sitting, is there's not a one right answer.
Yeah.
There's a one right God, and we walk with him, but we have been given the capacity to be creative, to use our imaginations, to use our problem-solving skills, to draw from what we have already been given, to create something with him. So, that's kind of where I've been sitting, and it's given a lot of peace to the idea of parenting, that I don't have, I mean, the old adage, you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent.
Yeah.
Like, it's really true. I don't have to be perfect in every action.
Yeah. Every time.
My God will protect the life of this baby.
Yeah.
His heart, his soul. God himself guards it.
Yeah.
But he's entrusted him to us and to me as his mother to parent him how I will. So anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's good.
I've seen you just be a lot lighter in regards to feeling like everything's a grade, and I've seen you become a lot freer just in your life and outlook. And
when they say there's freedom in Jesus, there actually is freedom in Jesus. Freedom. And it's truly wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the Lord been teaching you lately?
I have been thoroughly enthralled by the book of Jonah recently. I mean, to what I think we might both agree is a semi-obsessive level.
You've learned to balance it out, but I'm trying. At first it was very, very much all the time.
Every
Jonah.
morning you walk out in the morning, and I'm like, do you want to know you want to know what I read today? I read Jonah this morning. Do you want to know what I read this morning?
And then I'd hang out with my sisters. I'd come back. What you been doing? You want to know what else I learned about Jonah?
Yeah.
Like just all day.
Yeah. So I started taking one of the Bible Project classes on the book of Jonah, and they gave me this like a couple tips at the beginning, like, hey, when you read it, look for like repeated words and phrasing patterns and repeated sentences and repeated themes that it might be pulling from the rest of the Bible. And I was like, oh my gosh, this book is dense with that stuff. I mean, from the get-go, it is referencing other parts of the Bible. It's pulling from repeated themes like, I don't know, God's chosen people going through the waters, which would be like Noah, and the Exodus and Moses and even Elijah. It's like these themes and stories, like the book of Jonah is pulling on all of those all the time. And it's like, it like puts all of those stories in a slightly new light of, hey, what does it look like when God's chosen representative chooses to be God's greatest obstacle to his being represented to the lost world. And just the way the book does it is very fun, and it's almost like comedic or satirical.
It's very satirical. That's what I've been pulling from everything you've shared.
Yeah.
High satire.
Yeah, and like his prayer. So I've started basically just writing my own little commentary as I keep figuring things out and adding lots of notes.
This is another example of how you steward what's given to you. You have cool thoughts, and then you actually write them down so that it can benefit you later, and it can benefit anybody else that wants to read it. I just love that. Just commend you further, because I'll have cool thoughts and I'll share them with you, but then I don't do anything with it. I don't write it down. I won't remember it necessarily to explain to somebody else in a month.
Yeah.
Which, and yeah, I just see a lot of stewardship and increase in just how you're operating in this. So,
what is this, the Compliment Philip episode of the podcast?
I'm in a mood
I'm gonna need you
today.
to insult me a little bit moving forward, because I'm feeling uncomfortable right now with the amount of compliments. But thank you. I love you. I appreciate your compliments.
I was going to say, it's Christmas, but it's not anymore, y'all. A little sad.
Yeah, but anyways, I will be posting, whenever I finish like a chapter, I'm going to post all my thoughts and findings on that chapter on our blog. So if any of you want to read what I've been reading, you can. It's available.
Is chapter 1 up yet?
Chapters 1 and 2 are up, actually.
Oh.
Warning, I have not had any external people edit these yet, so the grammar and stuff might be terrible. But this is just first draft. This is just first run.
This is the raw thoughts.
Yeah, raw thoughts. Unfettered access to my process. But yeah, like Jonah chapter 2 quotes so heavily from the Psalms and also from like the temple dedication in Kings and in Chronicles. And when Jonah, he says twice throughout his prayer, like, I will again look upon the temple of the Lord. And he phrases it a little different both times, but that is like direct quotes from when Solomon is doing his prayer of dedication on the temple, and Solomon's just going through and be like, hey, Lord, you know, if your people turn away from you and are experiencing this or that negative effect or punishment from
your wrath,
having turned from you, if they should look upon this temple again, pray toward this temple, like, it's all that if they're coming back, if they're looking toward, and the specific language used is this temple or this place, may you redeem them. And it's like, wow, how beautiful it is, that tie-in, that this prayer of Jonah being like, I will look upon you in your temple again. And it's like, oh, that's just like a perfect one-for-one, because he has totally abandoned loyalty to his Lord and is experiencing the consequences and is now like, oh, I will look to you again, that you would redeem. And then the Lord redeems. And I don't know, I can imagine, like, from reading this, I could imagine being like someone from the tribes of the northern kingdom of Israel, who would have been conquered by Assyria, like, within the lifetime of Jonah. So I could imagine being one of those people, having just been exiled, reading the book of Jonah and receiving, in some ways, like a rebuke of, hey, why didn't you take the Lord seriously? And why didn't you cry out to him prior to this? But also there's so much tie-in and instruction in those stories of like, here's how you should go about humbling yourself and crying out to the Lord. and turning your face towards him again. And it's like, oh, that's a beautiful, subversive way of instructing and critiquing all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your commentary, I'm sure you've listed all of the scriptural tie-ins.
Yep. And I have them all linked, so you can just click it and it'll bring you right to that chapter.
Beautiful. Do you draw conclusions in your commentary as well as to why, kind of like what you just wrote or what you just expressed now?
Yeah, I'll do some of that. Yeah. I do some of that in the commentary of I could I put in it, I could see you being I could see like one of the original audiences reading this either just before Assyria takes them over and seeing oh, this is a word of rebuke telling me, hey, this nation who is akin to the ocean and the whale, which will come and swallow you up if you don't cry out to the Lord again. I could see it being instructive in that way, while also being instructive once the people of Israel are in exile to be like, look, the Lord wants the redemption not just of you, he wants the redemption of these people who have overtaken you, because Jonah's whole thing through the story is he's going to bring a word to Nineveh. Nineveh is one of the capital cities of Assyria, who is their primary enemy at this point. So it's instructive for them to not just look on their captors with hatred, but look on their captors as people the Lord also wants to redeem. And instructive on, hey, you got yourselves into this, but the Lord is faithful and hope in him is sure. And if you cry out again, he will hear you and he will redeem. And
interesting.
Yeah.
So a lot of scripture is supposed to be a bit of a mirror, right?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to reflect on it.
Yeah.
I did not mean to make that so punny. But it sounds like, Jonah is a combination supposed to be a mirror and also a window into what God really wants to use. And I'm sure that's a lot of the Bible.
Yeah.
I think you could reasonably say that about a lot of scripture, but it's standing out.
Oh yeah.
In Jonah for you.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it feels so multifaceted, and oh, you could run this scenario all these different ways and be getting different instruction out of it each time.
How is it affecting you as on a day-to-day, besides just being a fun academic and intellectual exercise? How is it affecting you on the day-to-day and your perspective on life?
I've only been working on this thing for a week and a half.
Well, you made a comment to me yesterday.
Yeah.
About how it's shaping your imagination.
Yeah, it's shaping my imagination, one, as I just re-engage in scripture and seeing the stories as a whole, seeing them as stories that I can project onto myself to be okay, how am I like Jonah? Are there any people that I'm so frustrated with that I would withhold, bringing them a word from the Lord, or blessing them with words from the Lord, or engaging with them in this or that way? Are there things I'm afraid of? Because one of Jonah's big issues is he doesn't like a certain characteristic of God, in that God is faithful and God is quick to forgive and he is merciful. And it's are there any aspects of God that I find frustrating that I need to come to terms with?
So you're looking for your Jonah.
Yeah.
Jonah-esque-ness.
Yep. Yeah. Am I like Jonah?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So, anybody wants to dig in further, hop on the blog.
Woo!
Yeah.
And I'm sure once I finish it all, I'll call Nathan again, and I'll have him interview me about Jonah or something like that.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Make Nathan a regular.
I'll make him a reluctant regular on the show. All right, well, that's all we got. That's all we got for this update. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all so much for the prayers that you guys have coming our way. And thank you very much to those of you who are partners of ours and are helping us financially to go on this journey. It's a huge blessing. We do not take it for granted. We want to be very good at stewarding our relationships with you and in thanking you regularly and in keeping you updated on us and just keeping those relationships alive. So thank you guys for listening. And
God bless you all.
Yeah, God bless us, everyone.
It's not Christmas anymore.